The birthday betrayal impacted the cake sat in the center of the table like a monument to lies. 3 tiers of buttercream perfection dotted with edible flowers that probably cost more than my monthly utility bill. 30 candles waiting to be lit. 30 years of being someone's daughter, and I was about to discover what that actually meant. Sarah, honey, come help me with the champagne. My mother's voice carried that particular pitch that had always made me move faster, think less. Pavlovian obedience wrapped in maternal sweetness. But I was trapped in conversation with my colleague David, who'd cornered me by the appetizer table and was explaining, in excruciating detail, his theory about cryptocurrency replacing traditional banking. His breath smelled like the shrimp puffs he kept shoveling into his mouth between sentences. I said, watching Mom disappear into the kitchen. She moved with purpose, not the scattered energy of a hostess managing a party, but something more focused, predatory even, though I immediately felt guilty for thinking it. Through the crowd of 40-some guests, my friends, colleagues, neighbors, people I'd known my whole life, I saw my brother Marcus emerge from the hallway that led to the bedrooms. His face was flushed, and he was looking at his phone with an intensity that seemed out of place at a birthday party. His fingers moved rapidly across the screen. Then he glanced toward the kitchen where Mom had gone. Something cold settled in my stomach. And that's why the blockchain is fundamentally going to restructure how we think about property ownership, David concluded, looking at me expectantly. Excuse me, I said, not caring that I was being rude. There's something I have to check. I moved through the crowd with the instinct of someone who's lived in this apartment for 7 years, who knows every squeaky floorboard and tight corner. My apartment. The one I'd scraped together a down payment for by working 2 jobs through my 20s. The one I'd furnished piece by piece from estate sales and IKEA. The one where I'd cried through a breakup, celebrated a promotion, learned to make sourdough during the pandemic. The laughter and conversation created a wall of sound that made it easy to move unnoticed. I slipped into the hallway, past the bathroom where someone was singing off-key, past my bedroom where a couple of coats had been thrown on the bed. The kitchen door was almost closed, just a crack of light spilling into the hallway. And through that crack, I heard my mother's voice. Not the party voice, the real one. The one she used when she was handling business. Distracted enough now. Did you get the information? Yeah, Marcus's voice, tight and uncomfortable. The locksmith said he could come Monday morning, 9 a.m. But Mom, I don't know about this. We've been over this. Her voice had that edge now, the one I remembered from childhood arguments. That apartment is an investment. She's being selfish, keeping it all to herself when the market value has nearly doubled. Your father and I helped with that down payment. You gave her $3,000 7 years ago. That was like 10% of what she needed. She's been paying the mortgage herself. And where did she get her education? Who paid for her to go to college so she could get that fancy job that lets her afford the mortgage? Everything she has, Marcus, everything comes from the foundation your father and I built. We sacrificed so much for both of you. I pressed myself against the wall, my heart hammering so hard I was sure they could hear it over the music and laughter from the living room. I don't understand why we can't just talk to her about selling. Why does it have to be? Because she's stubborn, just like your father. She'll dig her heels in and we'll lose the opportunity. The Hendersons' place next door just sold for $470,000, Marcus. $470,000. Do you know what that means? What we could do with that money? Your father's business is struggling. Your college loans. We could solve everything, but only if we act now while the market is hot. The word we hit me like a slap. We, as if my apartment, my home, my investment, my future was somehow a family asset to be liquidated for everyone else's benefit. But changing the locks while it's her birthday party, Mom. That feels strategic. Mom's voice turned smooth again, persuasive. Look, we're not stealing anything. Legally, with the money we contributed, we have a claim. My lawyer explained it all. Once we control access, we negotiate from a position of strength. She signs the paperwork to sell. We split the proceeds fairly. More than fairly even. And everyone wins. But if we let her know what we're planning, she'll lawyer up and drag this out for years. This way is cleaner. Kinder even. We're doing this for her own good, Marcus. She doesn't see the bigger picture. It still feels wrong. Marcus said, but his voice had lost its conviction. He was caving. He always caved when Mom pushed hard enough. Wrong would be letting her squander this opportunity. Wrong would be letting your father lose his business when we have an asset sitting right here. Family takes care of family. That's what we do. Now I need you to go to her place on Monday morning, meet the locksmith, and get those locks changed. I'll be there with the paperwork. Everything moved to storage by Tuesday. Wait, moved to storage? I thought we were just changing the locks. We need to stage it for sale, obviously. Empty apartments show better. Don't worry, we'll keep all her important things safe. This is business, honey. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal. My home. My sanctuary. My carefully chosen furniture and art. My books. My grandmother's quilt on my bed. My life reduced to items to be kept safe in storage while strangers walked through my emptied rooms deciding if they liked the floor plan. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a whimper, something, because suddenly the kitchen went silent. "Did you hear something?" Mom asked. I didn't wait. I pushed away from the wall and walked straight into the kitchen, flicking the light switch so the overhead fluorescent blazed to life, flooding the space with harsh white light that made everyone blink. Mom stood by the counter, her phone in her hand, champagne bottle forgotten. Marcus was leaning against the refrigerator, his face going pale when he saw me. Between them, the space crackled with caught secrets. "Sarah?" Mom's recovery was almost instantaneous, her face smoothing into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We were just about to bring out the champagne. Did David finally stop talking about Bitcoin?" "Locksmith," I said. The word came out steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. "Monday morning, 9 a.m. The smile froze on her face. Marcus looked at his shoes. "Sweetie, I don't know what you think you heard." Every word. I stepped fully into the kitchen and closed the door behind me. Every single word, Mom. The lawyer, the staging, the storage, the fact that you think giving me $3,000 7 years ago gives you the right to steal my home? "Steal is such an ugly word," she said. And the mask was slipping now. I could see the calculation in her eyes, the quick assessment of how to pivot, how to regain control. "We're family. This is a family asset." "No, it's my asset. My name on the deed, my credit score on the mortgage, my money in every single payment for 7 years. Money we gave you the foundation to earn. College tuition doesn't entitle you to ownership of my life." The words came out louder than I intended, and I saw Marcus flinch. "You paid for my education, I'm grateful. But I paid you back in every Sunday dinner I showed up to when I was exhausted. Every holiday I spent listening to Dad complain about his business instead of visiting my friends. Every time I said yes when I wanted to say no, because I felt guilty about being the daughter who got everything." "Now you're being dramatic," Mom said, but she'd taken a step back. "We only want what's fair." "Fair?" I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to my own ears. Fair would be asking me if I wanted to sell. Fair would be having a conversation. What you're planning is fraud, Mom. It's illegal. You don't have any legal claim to my apartment because you gave me money as a gift 7 years ago. No lawyer worth their bar license would tell you otherwise. "My lawyer," she started, "is either lying to you or doesn't exist." I pulled out my phone. "Should we call the police right now? Ask them if changing someone's locks without their permission is legal? Or should we call my real estate attorney and ask her what the penalty is for attempted property theft?" "You don't have an attorney," Mom said, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. "I do now, or I will by Monday morning. Probably before." I looked at Marcus, who was still studying his shoes like they held the secrets of the universe. "You are really going to do this? At my birthday party? While everyone who loves me is in the other room eating cake and thinking we're a normal, happy family? I didn't—" He started, then stopped. Mom said you'd understand eventually, that we'd work it out. Work it out. I repeated the words slowly. Marcus, you were going to change my locks, stop me from entering my own home, help her pack up my life and store it away like I'm already dead. What part of that sounds like something I'd understand? The part where family comes first. Mom said, and her voice had gone cold now. The persuasion was gone, replaced with something harder. The part where you stop being selfish and remember who made you who you are. We gave you everything, Sarah, everything. And this is how you repay us? With accusations and threats? Truth. The really insane thing about betrayal is how it recontextualizes everything that came before. Standing in that kitchen with the sounds of my birthday party muffled beyond the door, I was watching my entire history rewrite itself in real time. Every generous gesture suddenly had strings attached. Every "I'm so proud of you" came with an invisible invoice. Every family dinner was an investment in future leverage. The $3,000 down payment gift, which Mom had made such a show of presenting with a giant cardboard check like I'd won a lottery, transformed into a leash she'd been holding all these years, just waiting for the right moment to pull. I need to understand something, I said, and I was surprised at how calm my voice sounded. When did you start planning this? When did my home stop being my home and start being your retirement fund? Mom's jaw tightened. Don't be crude. Answer the question. When the Hendersons put their place on the market and got that offer, we looked at the comparables and we realized... She caught herself, but it was too late. You realized I was sitting on something valuable. Not your daughter, not a person, a thing, an asset to be liquidated. I looked at Marcus. And you went along with this? My little brother, who I used to protect from bullies, who I helped with homework, who I lent money to when you needed a security deposit for your first apartment, money I never asked you to pay back, by the way. Marcus finally looked up, and there were tears in his eyes. Sarah, I'm sorry. I didn't... She made it sound like it was the only way. Dad was going to lose everything, and we'd lose the family business, and... So you thought you'd lose my home instead? I asked. That's the solution? Throw Sarah under the bus to save Dad's failing business? The business he's been about to lose for 15 years, by the way? It's amazing how he's always on the verge of bankruptcy, but somehow still affords golf club membership and a new car every 3 years. That's not fair, Mom said. You don't understand the pressure we're under. Then tell me about it. My voice cracked. Talk to me like I'm a human being instead of a resource to be exploited. That's what families do, isn't it? They communicate. They ask for help instead of stealing. We're not stealing. Yes, you are. I pulled up my phone and started typing. You're stealing my sense of safety, my trust, my ability to ever look at you again without wondering what you're really after. You're stealing my brother's integrity by making him complicit in fraud. You're stealing any chance we had at a real relationship. Because how do I come back from this, Mom? How do I sit at Thanksgiving dinner knowing you were willing to make me homeless for a payout? Homeless? Drama as always. We would have given you money from the sale. It's not your sale to make. I was shouting now, past caring if anyone in the living room could hear. It's my home, mine. I wake up there. I pay bills there. I built a life there. And you were going to take it away while serving me birthday cake. Do you have any idea how psychotic that is? Watch your tone. No. The word came out hard and final. I'm done watching my tone. I'm done being the good daughter who doesn't make waves. I'm done pretending that your manipulation is love and your control is care. I'm done, Mom. Something flickered across her face then. Maybe surprise or fear. She wasn't used to me standing up to her. None of us were. I'd been trained since childhood to be accommodating, to smooth things over, to make myself smaller so everyone else could be comfortable. If you walk away from this family, you walk away from everything. Your father, me, Marcus, your cousins, Sunday dinners, holidays, all of it. Is that really what you want? To be alone? It was a threat wrapped in a question, the same tactic she'd used my whole life, the same one that had kept me showing up, complying, bending myself into shapes that fit her narrative of what a daughter should be. But something had shifted. Maybe it was hearing the plan laid out so clinically. Maybe it was seeing Marcus's shame and knowing he'd been willing to participate anyway. Maybe it was just 30 years of being good finally reaching its limit. If being alone means I get to keep my dignity, I said, then yes, that's exactly what I want. The kitchen door opened, and my best friend Jennifer poked her head in. Hey, everything okay in here? People are wondering about the cake. She stopped, taking in the scene. Mom's rigid posture, Marcus's tears, my clenched fists. Oh shit, what happened? Family meeting, I said, just finishing up. I looked at Mom one more time. You need to leave. Both of you. Now. Sarah, Marcus started. Now, Marcus, or I swear to God I'm calling the police and reporting the attempted theft of my property. And before you say you didn't actually do anything yet, conspiracy to commit fraud is still a crime. So is filing false legal claims. So take your locksmith appointment and your imaginary lawyer and get the hell out of my apartment. Mom drew herself up, pulling on the dignity she wore like armor. You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is not seeing you clearly sooner. She swept past me, head high, playing the wronged party even now. Marcus hesitated, opening his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closed it again and followed her out. Jennifer and I listened to the commotion in the living room. Mom's bright voice announcing they had to leave unexpectedly, so sorry, emergency, Marcus's mumble goodbyes, the front door closing with a finality that felt like a chapter ending. Do I want to know? Jennifer asked. They were planning to change the locks on my apartment while I was distracted by my birthday party, steal my home, and force me to sell so they could take the profit. Jennifer's mouth fell open. What the actual fuck? Yeah, that about covers it. Are you okay? Was I okay? I felt like I'd been gutted and set on fire, but also strangely light. Like I'd been carrying something heavy for so long that I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. Ask me tomorrow, I said. Right now, I need to go pretend to enjoy my birthday cake. The party continued, but I moved through it like a ghost. People kept asking where Mom and Marcus went, and I kept giving vague answers about emergencies. David cornered me again to talk about NFTs. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, gave me a potted succulent and told me I was looking thin. Someone spilled red wine on my carpet. Through it all, I kept thinking, they were going to do this. They were really going to do this. At midnight, after the last guest had left and Jennifer had helped me clean up, I sat on my couch, in my living room, in my apartment, and let myself feel it. The betrayal wasn't a sharp pain. It was a deep, aching emptiness where trust used to be. My phone buzzed. Marcus, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. She made it sound like it was the only way to help Dad. I see now how messed up it was. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to forgive him immediately, to smooth over things, to make it all okay. That was the training. That was the pattern. But another part of me, a newer, rawer part, was done with patterns that hurt me. You were going to help her steal my home, I typed back. At my birthday party, while lying to my face. I don't know what we talk about after that. His response came quickly. I know I fucked up. But she's our mom. She was so convincing, and I don't know what I thought. Please, Sarah, you're my sister. I was your sister when you agreed to change my locks too, I wrote. Being family doesn't give you the right to betray me. It makes it worse. I turned off my phone before he could respond. The apartment was too quiet now, just the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic. I walked through each room slowly, touching things. The bookshelf I'd assembled myself using a screwdriver and determination. The kitchen table I'd found at an estate sale and refinished over a weekend. The bedroom where I'd painted an accent wall deep blue because I'd always wanted a blue bedroom, and now I could have whatever I wanted. This was mine, built by me, chosen by me, paid by me. And they'd been willing to take it away like I was a child who needed her toys redistributed for the greater good. My phone buzzed again. I turned it back on without thinking. This time it was Mom. "You're being irrational. When you calm down, we need to have a real conversation about this situation. What we're asking for is reasonable and you know it. Don't let your pride destroy this family." I read the message 3 times, marveling at the audacity. She'd been caught planning to commit fraud against her own daughter, and somehow I was the one being irrational? My pride was the problem, not her scheme to steal my home. This was gaslighting in its purest form, and I'd been breathing it like air my entire life. I opened my laptop and started researching real estate attorneys. It was 1 a.m. on a Saturday night, technically Sunday morning, but I made a list anyway. First thing Monday, I would call every single one until I found someone who could help me document what had happened and make absolutely sure Mom couldn't try this again. Then I changed my locks myself. I'd been meaning to do it anyway. The previous owner's key copies were floating around somewhere, and now seemed like an excellent time. The hardware store was closed, but Amazon Prime could get me a new deadbolt by tomorrow afternoon. I paid extra for same-day delivery. While I was at it, I changed my passwords. Bank accounts, email, phone carrier, utilities, everything. I enabled 2-factor authentication on everything that offered it. I pulled my credit reports and froze them. If Mom had enough information to attempt fraud, she had enough to do real damage. The sun was coming up by the time I finished. My birthday was over. I was 30 years old, and I'd just lost my family. Or maybe I'd just saved myself. Forward those to me. What I'm going to do is draft a cease and desist letter explaining the legal reality here, which is that your mother has no ownership interest in your property whatsoever. A gift, especially one from 7 years ago, doesn't create equity or ownership rights. I'll also make it very clear that any attempt to access or alter your property will result in immediate criminal charges for trespassing, breaking and entering, and fraud. I'll copy her supposed attorney if you can get me their information, though I suspect that attorney doesn't exist. What if she actually tries something? Shows up at my apartment? Call the police immediately. Don't engage, don't negotiate. You need a paper trail showing that you've clearly communicated boundaries and she's violated them. Do you feel safe? Did I feel safe? I felt a lot of things. Sad, angry, betrayed, exhausted, but unsafe? From my mother? I don't think she'd hurt me physically, I said, but I do think she's desperate enough to try something legally dubious. Then we make sure the legal consequences are crystal clear. I can also file for a restraining order if necessary, though that's a nuclear option. For now, let's start with the cease and desist and document everything. Every text, every call, every interaction. Date it, save it, forward it to me. After I hung up with Patricia, I called a locksmith, a real one, for my benefit this time. He arrived by noon and installed not just a new deadbolt, but a security camera doorbell and a chain lock. While he worked, I called Marcus. He answered on the first ring. "Sarah, thank God, I've been trying to reach you. I'm calling to tell you that if you or Mom come near my apartment, I'm calling the police and pressing charges. My attorney is sending a cease and desist letter to both of you today. Any further contact needs to go through her office. Sarah, please." "Did you cancel the locksmith appointment?" Silence. Then, "Yes. After you confronted us, I canceled it. I swear I was never really going to go through with it. I was just scared of..." "What? Mom being disappointed in you? Was that worth more than my home? My trust?" I know how bad it looks." "It doesn't look bad, Marcus. It is bad. You were going to help her commit fraud. I don't care what story she told you or how she manipulated you. You're a 32-year-old man. You made a choice." "She's our mom. How do I tell her no? How do I stand up to her when she's like that? I finished. I get it. I've been dealing with it my whole life. But the difference is, I finally stopped letting her use my love as a weapon against me. I want to make this right, Marcus said. Tell me how to make this right. You can start by telling me the truth. All of it. How long was she planning this? What else did she say? Was Dad involved? He took a shaky breath. Dad doesn't know. She was keeping it from him because she knew he wouldn't approve. She's been planning it since February, right after the Hendersons listed their place. She consulted some guy she met at her book club who she claimed was a real estate attorney, but I don't think he actually gave her legal advice. I think he just mentioned that gifts can sometimes be considered loans, and she ran with it. Did she ask you to do anything else? Access my accounts? Sign anything? No. God, no. Just the locks. She said once we controlled access, you'd see reason, that you'd realize selling was the smart choice, and we'd work it out as a family. And you believed that? I wanted to believe it, he said quietly. I wanted to believe there was a version where this worked out and nobody got hurt. But you're right. I was being a coward. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry. Sorry wasn't enough. Sorry didn't rebuild trust or undo the fact that he'd been willing to participate in my dispossession. But it was something. I need space. A lot of space. And Mom is out of my life permanently. If you want any kind of relationship with me moving forward, you need to understand that she and I are done. No mediating, no she's family speeches, no pressure to forgive and forget. Done. I understand. I hope you do, I said, and ended the call. Patricia's cease and desist letter went out that afternoon via certified mail. In it, she laid out the facts with devastating clarity. The gift had been a gift, not a loan. Mom had no ownership interest. Any attempt to access or interfere with my property would result in criminal and civil prosecution. Further contact should be directed to legal counsel only. Mom's response came via text that evening. You're going to regret this. I'm your mother. You don't threaten your mother with lawyers over a misunderstanding. I forwarded it to Patricia, who added it to the file. The next text, your father is devastated. Do you want to kill him with stress? His heart isn't good. Then, Marcus is caught in the middle because of your selfishness. You're destroying this family. And finally, I gave birth to you. I raised you. This is how you repay me? I didn't respond to any of them. Each one went to Patricia, building the case that Mom was harassing me, that her claims were baseless, that her behavior was escalating. By Wednesday, she'd switched tactics. Suddenly, she was the victim. Posts started appearing on her Facebook. Vague references to ungrateful children, betrayal, heartbreak. She'd always been good at playing the martyr. And her friends, people who didn't know the full story, rallied around her with sympathy. My phone started ringing. Aunts, cousins, family friends. All of them with the same message. What happened? Your mother is so upset. Can't you two work this out? Family is forever. To each one, I said the same thing. Mom attempted to commit fraud against me, and I'm protecting my property rights. If she's told you a different story, she's lying. Some believed me, most didn't want to. It was easier to think I was being dramatic than to accept that Mom was capable of what she'd planned. But Jennifer believed me. My other close friends believed me. My colleague Stacy, who'd been at the party, believed me. She'd noticed Mom and Marcus's weird behavior and early exit. The people who actually knew me, who'd seen my life and my character over years of consistent behavior, believed me. The people who only knew Mom's performance believed her. And slowly, painfully, I accepted that I couldn't control their narrative. I could only protect my reality. The locksmith Mom had scheduled called me 2 weeks later, confused. I had an appointment to change locks at this address, but then it was canceled, and now someone, a woman claiming to be the owner, is calling asking why I canceled and demanding I come out today. But my records show the appointment was for a Marcus Williams, not, "Are you the owner?" I'm the owner. The appointment was made without my knowledge or permission as part of an attempted fraud. If that woman contacts you again, please tell her that any work done on this property without my explicit written consent will result in legal action against your company. Jesus, the locksmith said. Okay, yeah, I'm blocking her number. We don't want any part of that. Mom was still trying, still pushing, still convinced that if she just found the right angle, the right pressure point, she could make this happen. But she couldn't, because I'd finally learned what I should have learned years ago. No is a complete sentence. My boundaries don't need justification, and blood relation doesn't grant unlimited access to my life, my choices, or my property. 3 months later, I had a new normal. Sunday dinners happened with friends, not family. Holidays were planned around chosen family rather than obligatory family. My apartment was still mine, secured with new locks and cameras, and the certainty that I would defend it. Marcus and I had coffee occasionally, stilted, careful conversations where we talked around the crater Mom had left between us. He was in therapy now, working through decades of enmeshment and manipulation. I was proud of him for that, even if I didn't fully trust him yet. Mom sent cards, birthday, Christmas, Valentine's Day. Always the same message. When you're ready to talk, I'm here. I forgive you. Love, Mom. I kept them in a file, documented evidence of her continued attempts at manipulation. Patricia said they might be useful if Mom ever escalated to legal action, though she doubted it would come to that. People who actually have legitimate claims don't usually resort to this kind of psychological warfare, she'd said. They file lawsuits. Your mother knows she has no case. What Mom had was a wounded ego and a daughter who'd finally stopped being manageable. And what I had was freedom. Not the Hollywood version, where music swells and everything is suddenly perfect. Real freedom. The kind that comes with grief and guilt and the constant temptation to go back to the familiar patterns. The kind where I sometimes woke up at 3 a.m. wondering if I'd overreacted, if I should have tried harder to make it work, if I was really the selfish daughter she said I was. But then I'd remember. She was going to steal my home at my birthday party while I was cutting cake. And I'd remember, I deserve better than that. Everyone deserves better than that. The apartment is quiet now, in a different way than it was before, not with the anticipation of guests arriving for a party, but with the peaceful silence of a space that's truly mine. No strings attached, no invisible debts accumulating interest, no leash waiting to be pulled. Just me, my books, my plants, my life. Built by me, kept by me, protected by me. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.